Hi everyone. Time for some first impressions of the Colonists. And I say first impressions, I've only played it twice for real now, and once as this, playthrough that took a lot longer than any of the games did. But really, I've probably spent more time with this than any of the other Essen releases so far, just because the length of the game is huge. And that works kind of as an advantage and a disadvantage. The scale and the scope of this game is enormous. If you didn't watch the whole playthrough, I'd maybe suggest skipping through a couple of bits of it just so you can see the map. It starts out so tiny if you see at the start of Era 1. It starts out quite small and looks very, well, what could be so hard about this game? You're just going to a place, getting the thing. As the board grows and grows, and it's not on camera at the moment, you can see it at the very end of the Era 3 video, it's enormous now. And although there's these markets that you can jump to get around quite easy, it's such a nice puzzle of how do you get what you want done? There's so many things you can do. Everything's wide open for you to do and pursue your own strategy. There's cards and everything to make it different, but everything is open to you. What are you going to do? But how are you going to do it, more importantly? That is the biggest it's the big juicy puzzle of the game, but at the same time, it's the thing that can really hold you back and get you lost in your thoughts. I am bad for that in this game. I can be bad when I'm playing at home. I can be quite AP prone sometimes. Not that long. If I get a jolt, then I can move on. But I would imagine for people that are really AP prone, like there are some people that we play with in our group that I would imagine this game would take so long to play in. And this is a two-player game with me being a bit slow. Takes us 2 hours to do 2 eras. Like, we've only played two era games because we planned to do a big 4 era game at the weekend, and it just got out of our hands. We thought we know the rules now, this is going to be really quick. No, it was 2 hours. The 4 hours on the box is, in our estimation, right. So I did come back later that day, and I did 3 and 4 by myself, although it was kind of a wonky score because the first half of the game was 2 players. It's huge, and I don't want to say that as if it's a bad thing, because if you've got the time and the patience to put into the game, it is so amazing. Building up your community and trying to work out how best to do it. How do you get these people employed? The choice of your eras is really important. It's really important that that's picked at the start of the game, because as the game draws to a close, you need to make sure that these people are employed. Whether that's in just a 1 era game, you need to make sure all those farmers are out there doing something, because you have most likely wasted points if they aren't employed at the end of the game. Sure, you're going to get points for the places where they live and things, but the real points, you're going to get those points whether they're home or not. So you want to get them employed in something. Like going so heavy into merchants at the end of Era 3 was ultimately not really worth it for either of us. We've both got 2 merchants sat waiting at home on our boards. I did manage to get 1 employed. So I'll try and be a bit more brief. The scope and the escalation of the game is amazing. When you start out with such a small board and all you're able to do with your measly 3 storage spaces and 1 warehouse space, you're just able to move a couple of spaces, build a thing, and be quite happy with what you've done. You're inching around, making tiny moves. As soon as you start to get those storage houses and start to get the production buildings, the game starts picking up pace. Well, it's not pace, it's just, it really feels like you are doing something great when you can take your board full of wood that you produced the previous round, and then you just land on a market, and with your special trader power, you can suddenly trade it all into something that you need, maybe the really higher up goods. You can just trade a ton of things for other things with that particular colony anyway. You can do some really amazing things, and that only increases as the game goes on. There are even more options for you to do these things. As you have the buildings, as you have the special powers, everything just gets turned up every era. The colonies as well are definitely one of my favourite things about this game. They remind me of when we first played Voyages of Marco Polo, when we looked at the character powers and thought, this can't be right. This is crazy. This breaks the game. But then you look at every other character power and, oh, they all do that. They're all just ridiculously strong. These colonies give you such ridiculous powers. Like, they take the restrictions of the game and just let you ignore a certain part of them. Like the Lord Colony. The rule of the game is you go to a location, you're going to do the action of that location. You need to build the thing that you landed on if you're going to go there. Even if you just need to step over it to get to something you really need, tough luck. You need to use one of the spaces before you get to it. The Lord Colony says, no, you don't. You can just have these things instead. And if you can upgrade them higher and higher, you can get some of the ridiculously hard things that you would have to really spend some time producing. Like iron, you have to go to a coal burner to get coal. You have to go to the smelter to turn the coal and the ore into iron. Here, it's just, no, just move on a space and you can pick iron instead. And tools, which, if you just play a 1 or 2 era game, the first game we played, we were thinking, we've got so many tools here. Why would we ever need more tools? Why would we ever keep going back to spaces to produce tools? Why is there a blacksmith to go and get more tools? Well, Era 3 kicks in and that's why you need tools. Things start costing more and more. We've never had to raise a building yet, but if you have to start doing that and spending 2 tools a time to raise buildings, it's going to be really expensive. The Lord Colony just says, no, every time you go over a space and you ignore its normal action, you can have a tool as well. Another restriction of the game is, I need clay, but I'm only surrounded by wood spaces. The Alchemist Colony says, no, just anytime you receive wood or clay from an action, you decide what it is, and you can split it up and dish it out however you like. Later on, you can do that with the better and better things. And there's, I can't remember how many colonies there are in the game. There's maybe 9? I'm just guessing at that. But you use 4 colonies in a 2 era game if you're going to play 3 eras or more. Another one comes out in era 3. So suddenly you can add that to your strategy if it works well and mix in just some more stuff. So the colonies are amazing in themselves and they are going to provide a lot of the variability in the game, I think. Trying to find a really nice combination between the 2 colonies is really good. Maybe you're just going to go into one and go really heavily into one colony, but I like trying to find 2, like the Altruist and the Alchemist Colony really worked well together. But depending on what comes out, completely different things can happen as well, like these warehouse extensions that come with certain colonies, they don't come with them all. So some of those pieces get left in the box if those colonies aren't out. There's a colony, the Envoy Colony, I think, that we haven't actually played with yet, that gives you another steward as soon as you build that colony. So in Era 1, you can have 2 stewards running around the board, and that would completely change how the game plays for you. So these colonies, I think, are not only do they give you crazy, beautiful powers, but also they are going to make the games very different, because the places, as it stands, there are 12 places in each era. They're all going to come out in each era. The order they can come out in really changes the game as well, because what if all the buildings come out, but the things you need to produce the buildings don't come out? What if, all the buildings that need bricks come out, but the one clay burner that's in the whole first era doesn't come out until the very end? You're going to have to do something different. You can't just sit around waiting for it. You're going to have to adjust your strategy and do something else instead. So the order that they come out in is going to change the game up a bit, but the same things are going to come out all of the time. The cards do provide some things, but it is kind of, I suppose, saying it's luck of the draw isn't really valid, because you can go and build a library and then you can draw 4 and keep 2 every time you draw. So it's, you're in control of your destiny. Go and build the library if you want to go and draw cards, and then go and build the Institute later in the game, so that while you're drawing 4 and picking your favourite 2, building a great hand of these amazing cards, you can go and play 2 at a time at the developer and build your strategy that way. I haven't played that way, but it seems like a valid thing to do. But these seem to be things, in our experience anyway, so this is a first impressions part, in our experience anyway, you'll get them in the first era quite a bit to maybe give you a bit of a boost. Maybe it'll give you 4 wood in one go, which is really useful in the first era. Later on, it's not as useful. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it'll give you a great building contract for something you needed anyway, but then sometimes it will just give you 2 planks. And in Era 3, 2 planks is nothing. You can probably make 2 planks quite easily yourself. As I said, you can go and get the library and sort that out, but I don't think the cards are as big a deal in our experience so far as the game gets later and later. So I've mentioned the game length, and that is one of the prohibitive things about the Colonists. The the game is going to take us, if we ever try and play a 2-player game of it all the way through, and I don't think we're ever going to try that, it's going to take 4 hours, at least, based on how long it takes us to do Era 1 and 2. And the decisions only get harder and harder as the places get put in these strange ways, and you've got to try and find a good route around for what you want to do. It's only going to get harder to think about that. So the game's length is kind of prohibitive, but on the plus side, and I haven't tried this yet, on the plus side, it comes with rules and all sorts of ways that you can fast forward the game. You can just start in a later era, and I think it gives you allowances of gold for certain things. You can have this many gold in embassies, pick what you want. You can have this many gold in this, and you kind of start with a jump-started version of a community. The only downside of that is Era 1, in hindsight, is just you're barely doing anything. You're barely scratching the surface. You are laying all of the groundwork down. You are building towards future eras once you know what's coming. And I do like that kind of slow build-up. It really makes me appreciate the later eras, when I remember when I was just traveling around, just building one storage shed at a time or something like that. I really like the feeling of the escalation. So that, I feel, might be missing if you just fast forwarded it. But on the other hand, it would let you see some of these amazing things that come out and see how big the game gets without having to spend 4+ hours playing it. And these times I'm talking about are for a 2-player game as well. It takes us 2 hours to do 2 eras in a 2-player game. So with 3 or 4 players, I've no idea. It would depend on the people's playstyle, but I'm not sure that I'd like to take it to a game night and try it out. So I'll sum up, because I feel like I've been going on for a while about this game. The game itself it's just incredible. Every single turn is full of amazing decisions. As the game goes on, seemingly infinite amazing decisions. And you could go in so many different ways and do what you like in it. It doesn't feel like it's just a free roaming game, because it's introduced to you bit by bit. These places aren't just out straight away. They creep up on you, and all of the different colony powers and things, it's just unlocked a little bit at a time, and it leads to this amazing sense of progression and escalation as the game goes on. Because of this, it's quite a heavy game, and if you play with AP-prone players, then it could lead to, this is what you're going to be doing for a full day. So on the downsides for it, I suppose, length, but rather than the game, that's down to me sometimes, of just taking way too long to decide things. But there's so much to think about in this game that I just want to chew over these decisions. Table space is, you can't see the whole table, but it takes up the entire table. I don't think it would take much more space for 4 players. Where I'm sitting now, you could have the other player mats. But it is going to need quite a bit of table space, depending on how many eras that you play, I suppose. You can leave a lot of the buildings in the box. You won't get such a huge map, but it's something to bear in mind. And what I would like more solo things in it. The solo mode at the moment is just play the game without another person there and just try and get a high score. But then that does leave out a lot of the powers of some of the colonies. It takes the fee out of the game, and some buildings or cards or things are specifically designed around the fee. So if that's not there, then it loses something. So I would like to see something coming for solo. I think I read that there is something coming for solo. So despite those reservations about the length and the weight, some games we have just gotten rid of because they were probably not as long as this, to be honest, and maybe as heavy as this. But I really love this game. It's been so impressive. I didn't really know what to expect. The introductory game rules were up, but the rules didn't really go up before Essen. But I thought, you can trust Lookout, you can trust a game with Clemens Franz art, which is always amazing. And this is first-time designer, I believe, Tim Pulls. And just well done, Tim. This is amazing. And hopefully I will be able to, do a fast-forward game and be able to show Rachel some of the things that come out in Era 3 and 4, because I love jumping around the board with extra range, getting all of these merchants in there, building up all of the robes and things. It just gets better and better as the game goes on. And that was The Colonists. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.